be prepared for the unexpected, but not intimidated by them or thrown off. There are going to be challenges and setbacks. Take some time, analyze, and figure out, well, what do I need to do to keep moving forward? And that's the mindset that you're speaking about.
I hope you had a good Christmas, good little day there with the family. I know you're a proud auntie to 2 kids, right?
2 nieces and 2 nephews.
Oh, I love that. 4, that's even better. Did you get to spend some time with them?
Absolutely. Loved spoiling them. I've got 2 more coming over today.
Nice.
I get the gifts, so I get to relive it when they show up, and I get to give them their gifts. So that's the best part.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, that's great. I love that, spending time with the family part for this. It's a thing that I was actually looking this morning at, like Facebook or Instagram will give you the memories for stories that you share.
Absolutely.
5 years ago, I had a story. I posted a picture of myself driving on Christmas morning at 3:55, driving to work. And I posted it because I was proud of how hard I was working, that I was going to work at, before 4 o'clock in the morning on Christmas Day. And man, 5 years later, I couldn't be more proud to not be doing that, but to be hanging out and spending time putting together toys and literally doing anything else but that. So it's crazy how much things can change and how much that perspective changes about what it means to be successful in your career. Mm-hmm. Right now, that's an area that you have a lot of experience in. Just gotta want to try that sentence again. That was a tough one. Why I wanted to bring that up, not just because I saw it, because I know that for you, helping people to figure out how to be their best professionally is, a talking point for you. So I'm curious, from your perspective, what does that look like to be successful in terms of your profession?
Similar to what you said, Jim, being successful means what brings you joy. How can you work your career in a way that makes you happy in other parts of your life? So I feel like I'm successful in my career when I can do things like take some time off to be with family. Or actually, this past week I was in the Caribbean. One of my college friends had a big birthday, and she said, everyone come down. She, reserved some rooms. And at the last minute, I was like, you know what, I'm going to go, because it's a 30-year college reunion per se. And there were about 6 of us together from the college days. And it was just so great to be together. And as we were spending that time together, we were reflecting on, gosh, not all of us are here. Not all of us made it to this age. We've got, friends with different illnesses and things going on in their life where they couldn't be with us. So it was really important that I have a career, a job, and I do something that not only brings me joy, that I enjoy doing, but also allows me to do the other things, like take time off early, in the middle of the Christmas season. Like you said, it was a weird time to be away. I just made it back. But I wanted to make that time to be with them, because we don't know if we're all going to be around for the next reunion, whether it's in 5 years or 10 years or 20 years.
Right. Yeah, it's so incredibly important. I really like how you brought up sort of the concept of creating work around your life rather than the other way around. Because I think for a lot of people, and myself included up until a couple of years ago, you created work first, and then it was like, hey, how do we fit in life with the time that we have left? But I think you have sort of the opposite approach, where you're figuring out, hey, how do I align my profession with my life, not the other way around?
I do now, but yes, I was there. I went through 25 years of work first, everything from any holiday, working sometimes the day before, the day after, or on the day, and just feeling like I'm so proud of myself. When in reality, and now many of us are in that boat, but not enough.
Yeah.
So that is what I like to share with people. And also, I spent so many years doing a job that I kind of liked a little bit. I was just in banking and finance. It was okay. It wasn't terrible. It wasn't fulfilling. It wasn't fantastic. I wasn't surrounded by good people and good leaders. I was just coasting through for years, like probably 10 years of not really loving the job, but just saying, well, this is what I know. This is what I'm good at. This is where I am. So not looking, and I should have started
Right.
looking for some other things sooner. So that is another thing that I'm really passionate about, is having that conversation with people so that they can have the conversation with themselves on what they enjoy doing and how they can go about dipping a toe in. It doesn't mean quit your job. It could mean start a side hustle or do a hobby that could then grow into doing something that you really enjoy, from photography to writing books. It doesn't matter. Just having the guts and the permission, giving yourself the permission to
Right.
go and pursue something that makes you happy.
Yeah, I love that. So I think if I am hearing you correctly, what I'm hearing you say is a lot of people they build their identity around their profession, and that becomes who they are. And if they they can't even consider doing anything else but that because it's such a totally foreign concept to them. But it takes someone, either an experience or a good friend, or maybe, hey, a podcast like this one, to open their eyes to the possibility that there might be a way to break free of the current chain that they've stuck themselves to, right? And it doesn't mean a dramatically different life tomorrow, but there's ways to kind of, dip your toe in the water, like you said there, to kind of get a little bit of a feel for, hey, maybe there is a better way. Let's see what that looks like. So for you, what was that tipping point? Like, what was your life like up until that? And then what was the tipping point that brought you to the day that you said, hey, this is not it. I need to change?
I had a little help in the form of, your position has been eliminated. I know many people had that story. And that happened 2012 was when it happened to me. And I had just started working with a coach, but I was working with her for some other reasons. It was like in my mind, she was like a finance coach to help me with some properties that I had and kind of restructure my debt and get organized. And was thinking about, yes, maybe I'll look at a new job, because she did life coaching. But I remember when I first met her, I was like, that's not even a real thing. Like, that's a joke. Like, I can't imagine that she makes money doing this, especially back then. It wasn't as common. But then my position was eliminated, and I was like, hey, Noreen, I need your help. And it was an amazing experience, because it went from, okay, your position has been eliminated at the bank, and instead of going across the street and working at another bank doing the same exact job, which is what I'd done for the last 15 years, I was in banking, but I'd been at 3 different banks. And now I could go and do that. Or she said, let's stop and think about this. And we went through a process of, what did you like most about any of the roles you've had over the years? What did you dislike, so that we can avoid that? If you could create your dream job, what could it be? What would it be, even if you think you're not qualified? And just going through the process. Even though I thought I wasn't qualified to be a corporate trainer, I was like, these jobs are so cool. I really like this. So I just kind of did some legwork of answering the questions she asked me about what I enjoyed doing, what would bring me joy. If I could have this, what would it look like? What would this role be? And then the next step was, so go and find them online. Go and see what the companies are that hire what you've found, and then start having conversations. And, I'll shorten the story. In a few months, I found an amazing job where I was a corporate trainer, traveling all over the country, being paid to travel. They set you up the hotel. I had to, memorize the coursework, and I'd show up at an organization, train for 3 days on leadership, management, communication, and things like that. And it was fantastic. I loved it. I did it for 4 years. I say I visited 34 states. I've been to 34 states, and I only count a state if I've been there for 24 hours. So it's been fantastic. I've been to, North Dakota. I never thought I'd go to North Dakota, and I got to spend a week in North Dakota. So it's just amazing.
I have to say, I love the phrase that you use there, and I don't know if it was intentional or not, but the phrase, what would it look like? Mm-hmm. Because that is such a good phrase to just ask yourself, what would my life look like if, and then explore. Because there's someone who's stuck in a job right now, quote unquote, stuck in a job that they've been doing for, however many years. And they just assume that that's what they're destined to do, or that's what they're stuck doing, because that's what they've done for so long. Right. And it doesn't cost you anything to take a little bit of time and say, what would my life look like if? And then start exploring. Or even better, what do I want my life to look like? Right. And then start to fill in the gaps in between, because I mean, you and I right now are two examples, and I've had a number of conversations on this podcast with other guests who are living their dream. So there are enough examples of people who have decided, hey, this is what I want my life to look like, and gone out and are living that life day by day by day and are enjoying it. So there are enough examples of it being possible to give yourself permission to say, hey, what would my life look like if I did this? And then start exploring that, because I think that's a great thing that you can do without necessarily having to just up and quit your job, right? You can just start that process and figure out, hey, how do I start making slow adjustments to get myself 1% closer to that dream life every day? Unless you get fired or let go of whatever, speed up that process a little bit. But yeah, I love that phrase. And, I'm curious, is that a thought exercise that you do with people, or is there like another common practice you'll do with people to help them explore what those options look like?
It is exactly that. What would it look like if you had a dream job? What would it look like if you didn't have to worry about this step? What would your life look like? What would your day look like? What would your year look like at the end of this year? If you had these things in order, what would it look like? And then that's the goals that we're working towards. So you've got to pull it out of the person, because sometimes it's in there and we're afraid to say it. We don't know how to say it. We can't voice it. But once we know what our goal is, what would make us happy, what is ideal, what's the ideal state, then we can take those little steps to move 1%. I love that. The 1% closer.
Yeah. Does it ever get overwhelming for people to think about the ideal state and then look back on where they are and think it's, an insurmountable goal to get from here to there?
Frequently. Even with myself, sometimes I think, oh gosh, it's overwhelming. What if this happens? And then there's the fear of success. And the fear of success and achieving those goals is where the overwhelm can come from. Because It's like, how am I going to get there? I'm going to have to do all of these things to get there. Yes, that's usually the case. But you've done all of these things in the past to get to where you are now. So you can do more things, steps, ideas, concepts to get you where you want to be in the future. So it is helpful to break it down for someone, pull it apart, not let it get so overwhelming in their mind, so that they see that they can do it. It's just going to take time. Unfortunately, many of us these days, we want it to happen quickly. And that's where the overwhelm comes from. Where, well, if the changes, oh yes, I want a new job, but I have to learn all these things. Well, if you start learning them now and then start applying and do that, then even if it's a new industry, a new role, a new division, a new department, if you take the steps, it won't be overwhelming. And then when you do get the new role, you can then take steps to grow, learn every day, learning something new in that field, in that area, so that you don't have to learn it all at once. We didn't do that in the past. Why would you expect that you have to do that now? Yet we do.
Yeah. Do you think that there's a component of gratitude that makes that really important to look back on, hey, so this episode's coming out right around New Year's. A practice of, hey, spending 10 minutes. And one of the things I like to do, just because it's easy for people to visualize, is scroll back through your phone and look at 2024 in pictures. What are things you took pictures of? Right? Quick reminders of what are the experiences that I had in this past 12 months? What are the things that I could be grateful for? What was I worried about 12 months ago that I'm no longer worried about? I'm curious for you, do you find that level of gratitude or reflection to be a thing that really benefits people?
Yes. It is important to look back at all that you've accomplished, whether it's in the last year or the five-year difference, where we were in 2019 and where we are now with all the different changes. And also, right. I say this frequently, but give yourself grace and the permission, meaning that if everything didn't go your way, that's okay. If things happened, we hit some roadblocks or some challenges, that's okay. You've either overcome them by now, or you are aware of them and you'll be able to overcome them by focusing or staying on the path or just keep moving forward. So that's where you can find the gratitude and the accomplishments for the little wins. We spend so much time focusing on big wins, but there are a lot of little wins.
Yeah. One of the things I'm thinking too is the results you're looking after, the mentality that you get along the way, or is it the actual result at the end of it? And I hope that makes sense, but let me explain a little bit further. I think far too often we prioritize, let's use a real world example. If I don't like my current job and I want to be working at, Acme company doing corporate level work, that's my dream, right? That's my what if. If I hinge my happiness on the success of achieving that end results versus the mindset I need to get there, right? I feel like you could accomplish the mindset tomorrow. The decision to make one step in that direction, and if you see that as a result, it's really easy to get those quick wins. You're getting dopamine hits every day because you're getting that win. So I think it's taking your big goal and breaking it down into really simple steps to say, hey, I got myself 0.01% closer to that thing in a year from now. I won the day. How do you feel about that?
That is what I wrote my book about.
Okay. I guess you may agree.
Exactly that. It's called the Career Ninja Mindset. And it just means being flexible and having a mindset that moves you forward. You've got to be, like a ninja. You've got to be able to adapt. You've got to be able to, make changes, be prepared for the unexpected, but not intimidated by them or thrown off. There are going to be challenges and setbacks. Take some time, analyze, and figure out, well, what do I need to do to keep moving forward? And that's the mindset that you're speaking about. Is there are several different steps. In my case, the Career Ninja Mindset includes the steps of planning, prioritizing, practice, persistence, and passion. Those are the 5 steps to the Ninja Mindset.
All right. I like that. And so where does someone start becoming a career ninja? Like, what step 1 is it saying, hey, I am a career ninja? How do you start the process of going through ninja school?
Sure. Yeah. It's a mindset of thinking about, I want to make this transition. And sometimes it can be a transition by choice or a transition because it's time for you to retire from your current role. It can be as simple as I just want to change departments. I love my company, don't want to leave. I want to change departments. What mindset do you need to have in order to take those steps so you can move in that direction? But certainly a change in careers is a big way to think about it. So once you understand that I know I want a change, I need to adopt a mindset that will move me in that direction. So those are the first steps is, understanding what's the plan to make the change. Yeah.
I like that a lot. And I think it makes a good case for visualizing what your life would look like, right? And starting to slowly evolve into that person, not just expecting to all of a sudden wake up tomorrow and just be that. And when you talk about a career ninja, I get the visualization of someone very slowly moving toward their goal, right? A ninja is not someone who is typically very loudly yelling and screaming and running full speed at their target. They are making very super precise, slow, tiptoe steps, almost making no movement or noise at all, almost imperceptible. And then when they get there, boom, they're there and they've hit that target and you never even realize what hit you, right? So it's that like slow, methodical, relentless move forward.
Yes. And to bring that further so people can visualize what does that look like, that's those slow steps. It could be getting a certification, taking a course. It could be joining a project team so that you're getting some different skills and also being exposed to other people inside of your organization. It could be joining a professional association and going to conferences and learning things and sitting in those classes and kind of picking up some skills and knowledge that you will then be able to use as you're applying for new roles. It could be networking and actually networking, meaning calling someone either in your organization or maybe someone who's in a role that you're interested in and having a conversation with them and just say, hey, I just wanted to reach out and learn about how you got to where you are, what steps did you do, what would you recommend I take? So finding a sponsor, a mentor, a coach, someone who can help you. So those are the imperceptible steps that you can
Right.
take to move you forward in the direction. And then all of a sudden you're applying for a role that the other people on your team are like, wow, you're applying for that role on that team? I do the same job as you. Why would you get that? How did you get that? They didn't see that you were putting in all of this work behind the scenes.
Yeah. It brings up a great question. How do you deal with the office culture, if that's what you want to call it, of someone who is maybe having that conversation with you, who wants to hold you back because you making an advancement makes them look bad?
Yeah.
Right. So there's definitely people in your circle, whether intentional or not, who want to hold you down to prevent themselves from looking bad or looking like they're lazy. You've seen that?
Yes, it happens not just in the workplace. Sometimes it can be your family and friends who say, hey, you better stay at that company. Just stay there for 3 years. They're 30 years. That's the goal. That generation above us. Just get a job and you stay there. Immediate friends and family, sometimes even your significant other can say, I don't know, I don't think you should rock the boat. So it is important to find people that have a similar mindset, that a growth mindset. It doesn't have to be someone radical. It doesn't even necessarily have to be someone who's in your field or area, but people who are open to change, and surround yourself with those people. So to circle back to, if it's someone in your organization or on your team, there are people on the other teams in your organization that you can find and reach out to and spend time with, whether it be lunch, virtual lunches, having some conversations, joining those groups or organizations inside of your company that are usually doing something, whether it's employee resource group or social impact. There's always an organization with people who are looking to make a difference. And generally, people who are looking to make a difference are looking and open to those who are looking to make change. And that is who you need to surround yourself with.
Yeah. I think there's a good part of that too, that's understanding the mentality of that other person and not necessarily criticizing them for it, but just giving them grace for, hey, that's normal for them. So for you to do this thing to them is such a foreign concept. They can't even understand why you would possibly even think that. And because it's not normal for them, it's instantly wrong. Right. So for you to just understand, hey, for that person in my life, whether it's my parents, whether it's my coworker, this thing is such a foreign idea. They can't even comprehend why I would want to do this. I'm not going to judge them for it. I'm going to say, okay, no problem. I hear your feedback. For me, I'm going to do this. I'm going to love you in all these other 99.9% of the other areas. And this 0.1% heard, but good luck and God bless. I'm moving in my own direction. And I think that takes some confidence to really, understand who you are authentically and just not take their criticism to heart, because you have to understand where it's coming from. It's not necessarily guided at you because of you, but it's just a concept that they've always known as normal to them, right? It has nothing to really do with you.
Yes, I would say it sometimes it even comes from a place of love and protection. They think that by holding you back, they're protecting you from the unknown, because that's what it is. The unknown. When you make a change, we don't know what it's like over there. We don't know what it's like at the other company doing the same job. We don't know what it's like. Yeah, any of that. So it sometimes can come from a good place, and that's okay.
Yeah. Which reminds me how important it is. And I say remind me like I don't talk about it literally every day, but how important it is to have proper communication skills and understand how to communicate with the people around you, whether it's at home or at work. Because although we try and keep it like in neat little buckets, it's nearly impossible to not bring one into the other, right? And there are so many times where someone will show up at work and have this certain mentality and they're just hot that day, right? You can tell they're steaming. They brought in some from home, right? So when you start taking their feedback on a work thing through the lens of work and don't take the 2 seconds to understand where they are at personally, it creates this just spiral of crap, right? And how many times have you seen people operating in a constant spiral of crap because they refuse to learn how to communicate with each other?
Yeah, so often. And it's like you said, they're probably poor communicators at home, if they're poor communicators at work, and then the worlds collide of the poor communication, which just increases stress, it increases how they interact with you and with others, no matter which side you're on, whether it's a family member, significant other, coworker, close coworker, manager, leader, senior leaders, all of them. They are all part of our ecosystem. And half of the battle is understanding how to navigate others. And what someone says, you can't always take that on and it's a personal attack on you. It could be how that person communicates. It could be them just expressing themselves. Some people always have an opinion about something, even when you don't ask them. So they feel like they have to share their thoughts. Right. And we don't have to take them on as, gospel. It can just be their thoughts.
Yes. And I believe if we do a better job of understanding ourselves and understanding the people around us and actually building real relationships that are beyond surface level, we can understand, hey, that other person who has an opinion on literally everything and always has a criticism, you understand that they're just looking to be seen and heard, right? So when you really truly understand, hey, that person is suffering from not feeling seen and heard. And all they really want is to be seen and heard. And the reason why they have an opinion on everything is because up until now, they have this experience where their opinion has been discounted, has been looked past. And when you start intentionally understanding that and building connection with that person, not only do you help them, right, to feel loved, appreciated, seen, and heard, but you also don't take that crap to heart. Like when you hear them with a criticism, you let it roll right off because you know where it's coming from. And it makes your experience way better. It makes their life way better. And that starts with you. Right? It starts with the individual person understanding the people around them and holding space for them to be who they are and listening to what they are really saying, not the words that are coming out of their mouth, but like listening to who they really are and not instantly overreacting, taking a step to say, hey, what are they actually saying? Where is it coming from? Are they saying that they hate my project and this should be red instead of purple because they're pissed off about, they had a bad Christmas vacation, they didn't get the gift that they wanted, or something happened at home and now they're just taking it out on me, right? Is that the thing? And granted, you shouldn't be a dumping ground for people, but you have to understand where people are at, right? Otherwise, you're just going to create, again, this circle of crap, and nobody wants to live in a circle of crap.
Right. Also, what I find is that takes your energy away.
Yes.
If you spend energy worrying about what so-and-so said, did, or what have you, then you are not focused on taking your energy and moving 1% closer to whatever your goal is. Yes. I have some friends that I still have to say that to. It's the weekend. We're supposed to be catching up. And you were talking about Susie at work. She's not here. And she's not thinking about you. And she's not thinking about what she said to you. And you are spinning on something that someone said to you. You've been working with them for 7 years now. You know how they are. It's okay. Let it go. And here you're like whipped up and in a frenzy over something that person's not thinking about, and you can just let go because you're going to be back with them on Monday and they're going to say something else crazy, silly, inappropriate, or what have you. But it's their nature.
Now, what about the person who needs to vent things out? Because there are some people, my wife is one of them. And we have this conversation often. For me, I'm very, on, off. The way my brain works is very black and white. I will be like you said, hey, I'm going to shut that thought process off, hold it captive. I'm letting go of it. For her, she tends to want to talk things out, just to verbalize them, to release them. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, she'll hold on to them. And, maybe in that moment, she shuts off the conversation, but it will fester for the weekend, right? And that will lead to other things where she's unable to release it, sort of, and it just builds and builds and builds. So for her, what we found is say, hey, let me sit with you, explain to me the entire story. I will give you my full undivided attention. Take the 15 minutes you need, vent it out. We'll put a bow on it, and then move on, right? So I think there's a big part of it is understanding the people in your life and kind of what they need. And that was a big thing for me, to be honest with you, because I judged everyone's ability to control their thoughts as I did, right? Because I'm in my brain 24/7. So for me, this is normal, right? I know I'm able to do this, so I'm expecting you to be able to do the same thing. And I think that there was a big advancement for me in relationships when I understood not everyone operates the same way, right? So you start figuring out, hey, the people who are around you, and you put a little bit more effort into the people who are closest to you because you spend the most time with them, but sort of understanding how they operate, right? And that way you can show up and support them and give them the space that they need. And I think that's been a really big boost, right? To be able to show up, and that's part of communication, right?
Yes, absolutely, Jim. And it is a skill. And the better you know yourself and understand yourself, the better and easier it will be for you to understand others if you are open to that. If you're open to understanding yourself, you'll be open to understanding and communicating effectively with others. But it does
Yes.
take a while because it's like you said, not everyone can compartmentalize. And
Yeah.
is that a little bit of the secret to my success? Yes. How do I handle massive high stress situations where there's like multiple things going on or going wrong? I do have to compartmentalize. I have to say, I'm going to worry about this catastrophe tomorrow at 8 a.m. because right now I've got to worry about this catastrophe. And I'm
Right.
not going to worry about both of them at the same time. That one can wait until I worry about that one, but I will only worry about this one right now. It took me years to get there, so it certainly would not be, it's not common. I can't expect others to be in the same place, but understanding that they can't do that or don't do that is really what is helpful. Explaining
Yeah.
how it works for me, and then asking, how does it work for you? What are you feeling? What are your thoughts? What works best for you? What do you need? And some of my friends have been better at friends for many, many years are better at saying it out loud. Okay, Alexis, I'm going to tell you a story. I just need you to listen. Don't interrupt and try to fix it, solve it, go back and like all of the things that I would normally do, especially if it's a friend and I've got to turn off the coaching hat and any of that. Right. So sometimes I need the heads up, and sometimes I remember on my own. But it is important for the friendship.
It absolutely is. And, I think you made a great point about knowing who you are authentically, because when you are in complete control of who you are authentically, when you know who you are, you can approach these conversations not worried about what the other person's going to say, because you're not going to take it to heart, right? You're not worried about how does this affect me, because you know who you are. So you're able to show up and be there for that person because you're not so focused on me, right? You're able to just be there free in the conversation. And, much to your point there, I think knowing what people need and giving them space is truly helpful. And to me, I've mentioned this a couple of times in the past. That's the difference between a course and a coach. Like you talked about earlier, how, you were in a situation where you needed your friend's help as a coach. That's what a coach is for. They are to come alongside you in a certain scenario where they can help guide you forward. They are not going to say, hey, here is the exact step-by-step process. That's what a course is. A course is, hey, this is the 16 steps to follow. Go do that because it's just going to work. But it's different for everybody, right? In certain scenarios, you need a very different approach, and that's where you get a coach to come in and say, hey, where are you at? What is your operating style? Let's take those two variables, put them together into an action plan and give you the steps, walk alongside you to help you, give you the space to complete it, and then move on. Right? And I think that's a very excellent part of what a coach actually is and why a coach is so critically important. Because I believe a lot of people could benefit from having a coach, but they don't understand. They think that either they are broken or they're not good enough if they need one, or they can't do it on their own, or they're just going to go to ChatGPT and get the instructions on how to do it themselves. Right? But don't you think that there's a tremendous amount of validity? And obviously you and I are both a little biased in this, but don't you believe there's a tremendous amount of need for people to have a coach on a specific topic for a short duration of time?
Absolutely. And what I found in my research is when you explain it to people, sports analogy usually comes best because you can be the best quarterback in the NFL and you have 5 coaches that work with you? If you're the quarterback, you've got a quarterback coach. There's a defensive coach. There's an offensive coach. There's a head coach. There's always a coach. Think about the best whatever player. Is it the best basketball player, the best golf player, the best tennis player? Serena Williams and Venus Williams, they have a coach, right? If you're playing golf, you have a golf coach. Even if you're in the Masters, it doesn't matter what the sport is. When you're at the top of your game, you have a coach. That's in the sports world. And these are people who are making millions. They've got millions in their contracts. What do? They hire a coach. And then I realized that the same works in the corporate world or in the business world. I'm out there. I listen. I'm going, at conferences, learning about how to be a better speaker or a better coach, because that's my industry. And then I see these people and they're making millions of dollars and they have a coach and they share who their coach is and they share what they learned about their coach. Even if I'm trying either to get business from them or get coaching from them, they also have a coach, because a coach is not your friend, right? Your friends will tell you what you want to hear. A coach will tell you what you need to hear and will also ask you the tough questions and make you answer them. Right? Your friends and family will ask you questions, but they're like, don't think about that. A coach says, well, here's a question for you. What is your response? What are the answers to these 3 questions? If it's sports related or work related or life related. So that's the difference and the value of a coach. They really pull it out of you.
Right.
And that's helpful.
Yeah. And they're not afraid to lose the relationship. Right. And when I say that, I mean, there's a lot of times when you have family and friends who will not tell you things because they are trying not to hurt you.
Right.
Meanwhile, they're hurting you by letting you stay the same.
By
and
not telling you.
It's such a hard concept to understand, right? Because there's conflict involved. Mm-hmm. And, you want to avoid the conflict because it feels awkward, or you don't want to start a fight. You don't want to lose a friend. But ultimately what happens is you wind up letting that friend suffer and live a less than life because you're not willing to step in and have that conversation. And I think the ultimate level up is when you start to surround yourself with friends who are pseudo coaches, right? Who are so loving on you and willing to just be brutally honest with you because they want to see you do well. And you receive it by, not being offendable, by being that level of friend back. And that's the goal, right? So once you've, and I couldn't even fathom this 5 years ago, to be clear, but once you've gone through the process of getting a coach to help you break the mold, right, and see you as who you truly are and who you possibly can be, and that's one of the other benefits of having a coach, is a coach can see you, right? Tiger Woods is inevitably a better golf player than his coach, okay? Michael Jordan is a better basketball player than his coach. But the difference is the coach can see you. They can see where you're at. They can help you understand you better than you can because they can see you from a third-party perspective. And that's the main difference, is having those relationships and helping you kind of understand who you are and where you are so that you can get that little critique. They can keep you a little bit in your discomfort to continue to grow. Because for us, right, we're going to keep ourselves as comfortable as possible. We want to survive.
Human nature.
Right? We want to avoid conflict. We want to avoid criticism. We want to avoid anything possible to stay comfortable. That's why we don't have the awkward conversation. That's why we don't do the uncomfortable thing where we don't take risks. We want to be comfortable. But your coach's job is to see you and see that and help you level up, even if it's that 1%, but they're going to hold you accountable to that because they're not worried about losing the friendship. Right. And that's such the benefit of having a coach, especially in what you do, because, hey, how much of your life are you dedicating to this thing? For most people, it's 30, 40 years. The best 40 years of your life, you're going to spend doing a thing that you don't love doing because you were afraid to have the conversation. Yes. And then what? You retire, hopefully, with a little bit of money to start enjoying your life at 70 years old when you're decrepit. It's the worst plan ever, man. But why do we do this? Because we're afraid to have a conversation. We're afraid to get the coach. So if I didn't just sell you some coaching clients, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, thank you. But yeah, it's so true. We just want to stay comfortable. And we know that person who stays in a job for 30 to 40 years and they don't like it. And they just say, well, it's too late to leave. It's too late. I'm 45. I'm 50. I'm 55. I can't leave. Yes, you can. You can take those skills and turn them into so many different things and have all kinds of opportunities that not only bring you joy, but possibly even more money than you were holding on to out of fear. A lot of times people don't make changes out of fear of the unknown and fear of loss or fear of failure.
Right.
And I mean, to go all the way back to Thomas Edison, he did not fear failure. It was 99 times, 100 times till he got the light bulb right. And if he had stopped at number 90, where would we all be?
In the dark.
In a different place. So yeah, in the dark. But you cannot let fear completely paralyze you. You can be cautious, make smart decisions, don't do something rash, but if you have a plan and you take steps towards it, then you'll be covered. But if you do nothing, then nothing will change.
Yeah. And just a thought too, because in your example that you talked about, hey, what would it look like if you left your job and you started a totally different one? I think there's also a major case to be made for staying in your current company, but operating way different, right? Because there's going to be someone who's listening to this who's saying, man, that's such an insurmountable idea of leaving this company where I have so many roots and I have all this stuff together. I want to also make it super clear, you could still stay within your company, maybe a different role, or maybe just the skills you need to operate in your current role way better, way less stressful, to communicate better, to just figure things out, to align things better. So you can still, you don't have to totally, uproot your life, right? Because that's a really scary thought for a lot of people. But you can solve so many problems and resolve so much stress from your life by going through and having these conversations and figuring out how to show up in your own life, that it's a conversation that I believe everyone needs to have.
Yeah, I do speak about that with some of my coaching clients. I talk about, okay, you're in your role and you love your current job. You love your manager. Sometimes you consider a role just because your manager is fantastic and you don't want to rock that boat, because finding a good person above you who you can get along with is fantastic. But then I challenge them to, well, where do you want to be seen on the team or in your department or in your division, especially if you've been there a long time? Success does not mean getting promoted to the next level. Success does not only mean you have to become a manager or a leader or move up a ring. It can be staying in your current role and being either a subject matter expert or just seen as a great contributor. So generally in corporate America, we're rated on the scale of 1 to 5 every year for your annual performance reviews. Are you always rated a 3? How great would it be if you stayed in your role, but figured out a way to get rated as a 4 or a 5? When you're rated a 4 or a 5, then 1, you're looked at as a valuable resource to the company. 2, you don't have to worry about being on the chopping block if they do make a decision about who do we get rid of. So just showing up for the 10 to 15 years isn't enough. You always want to be upskilling and reskilling, meaning learning new skills and staying sharp in your existing skills.
Right.
And that is how you can be successful in your role, even if you're not trying to get promoted or move up or be a manager. I have lots of friends and family who love being individual contributors and want to do it for the next 10 years. Don't want to move because maybe you love where you live and you work, it's convenient. And you say, hey, I want to stay in this role for a long time. There's nothing wrong with that. But let's see how we can make it so that you do that and you do well. And also you have room to do other things that fill your cup. Because what happens is if you don't do something outside to bring you joy or fulfillment or a release, then you end up getting so bored in your job because it's not fulfilling.
Right.
And then it starts that spiral of you're not showing up well, you're not doing your best, you're not your best self. Especially now when everything is up and down. Things are tight. The labor market is up and down. In 2022, you could change jobs and get a 10, 15, 20% pay increase. Now, if you change jobs to find the same job you have now, you better look out for a 5, 10, 15% pay decrease. Yeah. I manage a team now, and that's what's going on. I have to have these conversations. There are no openings. We're not looking to grow. There's not a lot of movement in the company right now. I'm in tech, and tech is in one of those turns where it's making the transition, and they're not hiring the way they were before, and there's not a lot of open roles. So what are you doing externally? Are you challenging yourself? Are you finding something you're interested in? I've got people learning new languages, people learning new instruments, people who are just trying and doing different things, going and just getting a certification, not a whole nother degree, but hey, I'm getting a certification in this 3 to 6 months, kind of sharpening your skills in your field. And it gives you something to look forward to. And then it also kind of makes you feel good about what you're doing in your day job because it allows you to do the fun thing.
Yes. Yeah.
So that's the mindset.
100%. And I think, looking at the idea of not just showing up as a 3 in all those areas of your life, but like, hey, let's look at your entire life, not just your 9 to 5, but hey, are you showing up as a 3 at home? Are you showing up a 3 physically, financially, spiritually? Like, let's look at, hey, how do you level up in all those areas? And I believe if you focus on the one that you are centering the most hours of your day focused on, right? If you can figure out how to remove the stress and increase the joy, increase the satisfaction to get your identity as part of that, your authentic self as part of that, not your identity. But to pour who you are and your heart and soul into a thing because you truly enjoy it, it gives you the freedom to show up in the other areas of your life and be the best version of yourself, because that's what this entire freaking podcast is about, is being a 10 in every one of those areas.
Absolutely.
I love that. Yeah, I love that. So let me ask you a question, because we're running low on time here. What's the next level for you? Like, where do you go from here? Because you look like a person who has a lot of joy and fulfillment and truly loves what they do. What's your next level?
My next level is being able to do more of what I'm enjoying. So I dabble in real estate, and that I own some properties. I'm doing some investing and I'm learning some things there. I want to learn more about my real estate ventures and get involved in that. I also love, how I'm coaching and speaking. So I would love to be able to do more speaking and coaching, and leave the day job. I mean, eventually that's my goal. I really enjoy my day job. I work in customer success and I lead a fantastic team, but it's time for me to make that step where I expand and I spend all of my time coaching, speaking. I'm writing a book and, having fun in real estate. I'm a real estate agent and I just want to get more involved in that. I know selling houses is not ideal right now, but that will soon change. Within 12 to 18 months, it'll be a whole different conversation. So I want to be ready for that.
Yeah. I love that. It's exciting for there to always be some level of next, right? And the idea of I talked before about you want to be a 10 in all those areas. I should have said I don't know how to properly phrase it in the moment, but my point there is the journey of getting to that level of a 10, because we're never going to truly hit the 10 and stop, right? You're never going to get to this thing and be like, all right, cool, I'm done. I can just cruise. It's continuing to evolve and to be better. And I love that thought of not hitting a goal and stopping and just being done and just cruising, but always looking for another way to continue to chase your joy and to chase the things that light you up and to be growing. I think there's so much joy in growing. And it's learning those new skills. It's meeting the people. It's having the conversations. It's not feeling stuck in a rut, but being able to just experience life in a sort of weightless environment where you're not burdened by the stress of this job that you have to go to, right? One of the things that I heard, which I love the concept of, is a successful company culture is not the office pizza party on Friday. It's what your employees feel like on Sunday night. Like, are they going to bed excited to go to work tomorrow, or are they dreading it's the last few minutes of freedom before I have to get up in the morning and report to work on a Monday morning? Like, I love that thought concept and just continuing to put that into every single day of your life. Hey, am I excited to wake up tomorrow because I get to do this? Like, for me last night, I'm like, cool, it's the day after Christmas. I get to wake up and have this conversation first thing in the morning with you and talk about this because I know there's going to be a person who listens to this who's going to dramatically change their life because they heard this conversation. They were able to take that one tiny step to get 1% better. And now that person's going to go out and multiply. And I believe that that's such an amazing thing, but it takes a long time, right? There's been 5 really hard years for me personally, and I'm nowhere near done.
Right.
Right. But just remember when you're listening to this, it takes time, right? Give yourself the grace and the space to do that and to continue to grow Surround yourself with people. Go hire Alexis as a coach. There's my endorsement. But for real, like, get people around you who are going to help you level up. It is so incredibly important, and you will be so happy you did it. Alexis, I have to thank you. This has been an amazing conversation.
Thank you so much. And I just would love to make an offer to your audience.
Please.
Anyone who reaches out, will have something in the show notes.
Yeah, absolutely.
And mentions this podcast, we will give them 50% off. It's the special we're usually running just for the first few weeks of the year. But for anyone at any time who listens to the podcast and puts that into the notes when you sign up for a free coaching call, we're going to give you 50% off of my coaching and speaking fees. So I look forward to working with you and meeting some of you. And I really appreciate this time today, Jim.
My pleasure. And I do want to make it abundantly clear, because I don't pitch on this. There's no ads. There's no sponsors. I don't pitch people. But the point of this is, I'm not doing this because there's some level of kickback or because you asked me to. We didn't talk about this at all. Our conversation prior to this podcast was zero. Like, this wasn't a premeditated thing like, hey, let's pitch and get some coaching clients. I legitimately want people to be their best selves. And I truly believe in what you do, and I want people to at least explore it. Even if you don't wind up working together, at least explore the idea of, hey, what would it look like?
Right.
That's a great exercise.
Right coach for them, you can have a conversation with me and go find another coach. That's 100%. How significant it is.
Yeah.
It's really helpful.
Yes. Well, I love that. And again, I want to thank you for your time today. It's been a true pleasure. And where can people follow up with you again?
www.alexiskingconsulting.com.
Perfect. All right. We'll make sure that we get that in the show notes. And again,
it's been Instagram, of course. I forgot. Yeah. Instagram, LinkedIn, Alexis King Consulting.
Perfect. All right. Well, we will follow you there, and we'll talk soon.
All right. Take care, everyone. Thank you so much, Jim.
Thank you.